Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. This is another edition of the WIMBIZ e-Roundtable, and you're so welcome, to this particular edition where we're going to be talking about using technology and innovation to enhance business growth. You're so welcome. My name is Abiola Adediro. I'm going to be your anchor and host for today. A little about me. I'm the founder of Midridge International. It's a financial advisory and strategy consulting firm that operates out of Lagos, set up to work with business owners, business founders just like you. To be able to grow and scale your business, put the right structure for you to be able to grow and scale. And of course, not just scale, but scale profitably, right? So that's the much I can say about me right now. But let me talk a little bit about WIMBIZ and why we're all gathered here. WIMBIZ is Women in Management, Business and Public Service. And it is a nonprofit organization that has over 20 years implemented programs that inspire, empower, and advocate for greater representation of women in leadership positions, both in the public and in the private sector. WIMBIZ is also a volunteer-based organization funded largely by donations and contributions by members and partners, and is a supporter of the Code of Ethics and Conduct for NGOs. Now, if you need to get more information about WIMBIZ, feel free to visit the website www.wimbiz.org. As you can see, their core pillars is to advocate, to empower, to inspire, and to connect. That is the core mission that WIMBIZ has. Today, this particular e-Roundtable is being sponsored by Flutterwave, and we really want to just thank our sponsor, for supporting this August edition of the WIMBIZ 2022 August edition of the e-Roundtable. At the end of this roundtable, a link will be shared, with us just to, for a quick feedback or evaluation. Please endeavor to complete the evaluation, as we would like to have your feedback and what you enjoyed about this particular edition, and of course what you would like us to improve on going forward. We kindly also want to invite our dear participants who are not WIMBIZ associates to join us today, right? You really don't know what you're missing if you're not in, right? I'm sure the associates can actually attest to the fact that there is immense opportunity, to join WIMBIZ. We appreciate our associates that have renewed their memberships for 2022. And we encourage that those that are yet to renew should actually endeavor to do so. If you need more inquiries on how to join WIMBIZ to become an associate, please send an email to membership@wimbiz.org. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to call on our ED, the Executive Director of WIMBIZ, who is going to be giving us the opening remark as we open the roundtable discussions for today. Welcome, Mrs. Ansatu Adebite.
Thank you, our able anchor and moderator for the day. Well, anchor for the day. Thank you so much, Abiola. Always a pleasure to have you. On behalf of our founders, our transition committee, of course, our management team, first of all, I want to just welcome every single person that has logged on today. It's a pleasure to have you here. I have been able to sort of catch a glimpse of some of the people on the call, and I see that a number of our associates, in fact, one of our WIMBORD mentors, I saw Mrs. Onakomaya, Ebison, one of our former executive council members. I see some of our program committee members. Our program chair is here, Mrs. Binta Max Binije Yemisi. I'm mentioning them because usually when you're going to talk about technology, you find out that a lot of women shy away. So what we normally see is that most of our participants are the young gurus. So I have to acknowledge these women that are still very actively going for information around technology. I want to use this opportunity to appreciate all our speakers for the day. Right? It is interesting that WIMBIZ is a very strong network. And for those that are not aware, WIMBIZ is not just a non-profit, but it's also a business membership organization. And what we tend to do from time to time is that we even identify within our network our women that are experts in various fields to contribute to the conversation. And I want to appreciate at least two of our speakers who are WIMBIZ members. including our anchor for the day. In addition to that, I just want to use this opportunity to also appreciate Flutterwave. They've been our supporters for quite a long time. And one of the things that has helped WIMBIZ to stand over the past 21 years and stand excellently well is partnerships that work. So both our internal and our external partners, our associates, our life members have been a great, tremendous influence and contributors to what we do at WIMBIZ. And we have seen how women have grown over the years within the network. But then I think our partners, whether it's our media partners or our sponsors or our donors, they are the ones that help us to continue to inspire, to empower, to advocate for, and to also connect women. And WIMBIZ will not stop until we see enough representation of women in leadership positions, in business, in management, and in the public service. We do know that innovation and technology is very critical to the dimension of where the world is moving towards. It is one area of any aspect of business or professional life that is so dynamic, and we are moving, in fact, the world is moving at the speed of lightning. And it's also very interesting for us to even have people from the public sector today, so that we are even able to see from that line of things what is happening in the public sector. And again, we do have a few people from the private sector. We will encourage everybody to be participatory, contribute, put down your questions, and then obviously I know Abiola will share some of the hashtags to ensure that you are posting the conversation on social media. Once again, I want to welcome each and every one of you. I wish you a fantastic time today, and I hope that we will all learn with shared learning. So thank you, Abiola. And I appreciate my age.
Thank you so much, Edie and Satu Adigite. That was really an awesome opening that you gave there. And I also want to, appreciate again our sponsor. And I want you at this point, everyone in the chat box, please put a hand together for our amiable sponsor for this particular edition. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. All right, so at this point, before we get into the panel session, which is really the heart of the matter, where we're going to be debating and talking about all of the things that you really want to hear, we're going to be taking a poll, right? So HQ, if you're ready for me, can you please just display the poll at this point so we can quickly take that before I introduce my panelists. So please, once the questions come up, just, answer, and then we can collate the responses and then move on to other things. So the questions are being displayed at this time. Number one question is, digital transformation is one of the driving forces behind the long-term growth and success in the modern business world. Do you strongly agree, somewhat, or strongly disagree? Number two question, technology and innovation positively impact customer satisfaction, employee engagement, or cash flow. Strongly agree, somewhat agree, strongly disagree. Let's know your answer. And number three, are there risks associated with investing in technology and innovation? What's your answer? Yes or no? For those of us that are afraid of technology. All right, so please, let's keep it coming. We have about 30 seconds, and in 30 seconds, HQ, please roll it and let's see what the response looks like. If you're done, just say you're done in the chat box so we can get a sense of how many people have attempted the poll. All right, looks like we have quite a number of people that are done already. So HQ, can you release the results? Thank you, everyone. All right, so here is it. 98% of us strongly agree that digital transformation is one of the driving forces behind long-term growth and success in modern business. 2% say they're neither here nor there, and then 1% strongly disagree. So 98% say it is one of the driving forces. Number two, technology and innovation positively impacting customer satisfaction, employee engagement, or cash flow, 85% of us strongly agree. 14% are sitting on the fence. 1% strongly disagree. Okay, so for those of us that are sitting on the fence, I'd like to know what are the things that you think, really impact customer satisfaction? Maybe you want to just drop one or two of those in the chat. Let's just get a sense of, some of the things that you consider as very critical to customer satisfaction, employee engagement, or cash flow. I mean, we can also learn from that. And the last question, are there risks associated with investing in technology and innovation? 88% of us say yes, and 12% of us are saying no. Interesting. Okay, so we're going to take all of this perspective into the conversation that we're going to be having today. I mean, we have how many people here now? We have about 175 of us on this session today, live already. And I can imagine, the diversity of, opinion, right? But it looks like, a vast majority of us are tending towards, technology, innovation, and really embracing technology. But of course, whether there are risks or not, we will definitely also talk a little bit about that during the panel session. And I want to also say, before I introduce my panelists, that if you have any questions during the course of our discussion, please feel free to use the Q&A box and put your questions there. Please, we would only take questions that are put in the Q&A box, not in the chat box. All right, but you can use the chat box to engage and share your thoughts, your opinions, and all that. Thank you very much. So the first person I'm going to be introducing today is Dr. Amina Sambo Magaji. She's a computing academic and policy professional with over 20 years of successful business transformation, both in the private and public sector. She's going to be coming here today, sharing her experience with us of how she has, been pivotal in driving transformation, both within the private and the public sector. So I think we're going to be having a balanced view, right, based on our experience of how digital innovation and ecosystem development, has actually taken place in the public space and also in the private economy, and how we as business owners can definitely benefit from that. She has vast experience, in digital transformation. She's well read. I'm sure you're reading her profile already. We're so happy to have you, Dr. Amina Sambo, and we are hoping that we're able to leverage from your experience of what you've been able to do both in the private and in the public sector. Welcome on board, Dr. Amina. Second on the list is Blossom Ozurumba. She works with NNPC Limited as an innovation advisor, where she provides high-level advisory to the Chief Innovation Officer. The one interesting thing about her is the fact that she's an Igbo enthusiast. And I find that, really very interesting, that we have somebody that is really championing our local language and is ready to take that, across the world. She's a host of the Igbo language podcast, Igbo proverbs, idioms, and phrases. I find that really, really interesting, about her. She's an innovation advisor, and so she's definitely going to be able to be sharing experience as well in terms of leading innovation, largely within the private sector. And of course, we're able to glean from a wealth of experience on this panel today. So you're most welcome, Ms. Blossom Ozurumba. Welcome on board. And the last but not the least is Opeoluwa Abitoye. She's the head financial institution and education business development at Flutterwave, right? She's definitely representing our sponsor here. She's responsible for overall onboarding and retention of merchants, as well as strategic customer relationship management, as far as onboarding on the Flutterwave platform. She leads the global accounts management, and she focuses on ensuring that the strategic relationships that they're building with global merchants continue to expand. And as you can see from her profile, she's an Oga Madam, you know. In that platform, she has a wealth of experience, very well read. She understands everything about electronic payments. Some of the things that I believe that a lot of us as business owners will be very interested in, because of the way digital payments are sort of changed the way businesses interact with their customers these days, and how your customers choose to pay money or you choose to receive money. So she definitely will be sharing quite a bit with us on that and how that impacts us as business owners. So welcome with me, our panelists. Can I see your hand in the chat box as you put your hands together for my panelists? I would like for them to be, if possible, highlighted on the screen. So I have all four of us showing on the screen. HQ, if you can help me with that, that would really be great. I want to be looking at their eyes as we start this conversation. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. I can see the hand, I can see the love in the chat box. Thank you so much. We do appreciate you. All right, so today we're talking about technology, we're talking about innovation, we're looking at the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Nigeria. And of course, because the world has also become a global village, you know that all the things that affect other countries of the world also affect us as well, right? And so my first question would be around technology, and I'm going to be directing this to Opeoluwa. Technology is about innovation, right? And innovation in business is all about doing things differently in order for us to be able to provide better products or solutions and offer improved services to our customers. We know that technology is not just essential for our day-to-day business processes. We know that it can also help our businesses to achieve growth and success if we're able to utilize it effectively. And in fact, successful businesses don't actually view technology simply as a way to automate processes, but instead they use it as a way to open new ways of doing things. And that is really what innovation is about. So Opeoluwa, what are some of the ways, the many ways that technology can support business growth?
Thank you so much, Abiola, and thank you, everyone. Just to use this opportunity to say I'm happy to be here. Okay, so technology is almost something that no one can do without, right? And I just want to take us quickly back to COVID period. COVID changed so many things. As a matter of fact, we're stuck with some of those things today because that was just how we did things, or that was how we had to do things. And it was almost as though there was no choice. Now, imagine if there was actually no choice. There was actually no other choice for us. And that's why it's important to innovate across whatever it is you're doing. Stagnation, of course, is not something that anyone wants for their business. And because the world keeps revolving around, moving from one place to another, to another, to another, we absolutely have no choice. Now, because technology is also very vibrant, is able to help us with the business. So it's not just because we're moving technology because it's technology, it's because it also helps us, right? I remember during COVID, Flutterwave came around to say, oh, by the way, we have the Flutterwave store, which was supposed to be a platform where small businesses who don't have an online store or who are not able to sell in their houses, and that's because nobody was going out, everybody resorted to online, online sales or online buying or purchases. It's important that we understand how technology works. And when people are talking about innovation, sometimes it's underestimated because you also want to be on top of your business. You can't be in one place. You have to keep innovating. You have to keep getting ideas around how your business is going to thrive. Now, because of that as well, customers like fancy things, right? They like to hear, oh, you can now purchase with your card online, or you can now, use bank transfer, or sorts of things like that. And it gets exciting because technology also helps you to hold information. Now, if you have customers buying online, you have their information, right? And you're able to get across to them anytime you want because you've taken their name, you've taken their phone number, you've taken their email address, you've taken almost everything, and it's easy for you to reach out. I'm going to use an example of a cake business, right? So they were on this platform, on the Flutterwave platform, and I have purchased cake on the 11th of January for my mom. And, the next year, 11th of January, 10th of January, they were already sending me a message to say, oh, by the way, Miss Abitoye, it's going to be your mom's birthday tomorrow. I hope you remember, you should order a cake. And I found that very interesting because even if I didn't remember, or even if I wasn't going to use them or even if I wasn't going to use their service or buy a cake from them, it's just interesting how technology helps you because it gives you all the information you need. You're able to actually engage your customers. You're sending them your updates because you're taking their information. You're sending them, oh, this is what we have now. It's just interesting how those things work together. So innovation technology is, top notch. And I feel like everybody who, even if you're not interested, just learn about it. Is an interesting thing, and it's an interesting idea where you can actually build on and build on and build on, and you'll be amazed how it's going to change your entire business around. I can't begin to talk about how innovation is very, very, because you're in one place now, and tomorrow you're hearing of another thing totally different that you haven't heard of before. So keeping up with what's going on, trying to catch up with the entire industry and the entire technology just helps you. It also helps you bring out all the ideas in you, and you're able to engage your customers more. And that just takes your business to the next level.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. If we talk about technology, it is really almost not exhaustive. Like, you've taken it more from the angle of payments, which is really what Flutterwave represents. But if we really break down technology and you think about it as a business owner, just think about all the things that you do in your business today and how technology has changed, how we used to do it before versus how we do it now. In those days, we talk about advertising in your business. Nobody really thinks about what technology can do in terms of reaching more people. Even if you did a billboard advert, it's localized to your environment. It's only people within your local environment that will see it. But now, come on, see what technology has done to us. You're able to reach people in other countries of the world just because of technology. We can't even exhaust it, right? But I will come back to you, Opolua, to talk more about how technology can really help us to really scale our businesses to grow as much as we want to grow without being localized within the environment where we operate from. So now I'm coming to you, Mrs. Blossom Ozurumba. Let's talk a little bit about innovation. I read an article recently by Harvard Business Review, and in that article it stated that innovation isn't really about technology itself. And that was really interesting, right? Innovation is about, new business models that leverage technology. Can you see? So it's not the technology in and of itself, but innovation is really about, with new ways of doing things, new ways of solving problems, new solutions, new business models that leverage technology. And that it's also about finding a problem and creating an approach that changes the way the problem is solved today, vis-a-vis how it was solved maybe years back. My question to you then is, as business owners, what are the innovation strategies that you think that businesses must adopt to stay relevant and competitive in this day of digital disruption? Mrs. Blossom, that's for you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's a very interesting question. And I'll thank you, Okpe, for setting the tone for the conversation we're having. I would want to recommend, that quest for businesses to continually stay relevant.
Looks like we have a bit of a glitch there. All right,
we're good now. So I would want to recommend that mandate for business owners to continually stay relevant in the market is actually the driving force that they would require if they want to continue being relevant and if they want to continually reinvent themselves to be in the marketplace. And by saying this, there are some ways that there's some strategies you can adopt for you to be able to continually stay relevant in the market. So we'll start by being responsive. So as a business owner, you have to be very responsive to what the world needs. Like Ope had mentioned, when during the COVID sit at home, people were not able to go out to make purchases. Then Flutter.
Okay, looks like our network isn't connecting. Mrs. Blossom, we can't hear you. So I'm thinking maybe you can reconnect as we take the conversation further. We have a bit of an epileptic network situation there. So while we're waiting for her to come back, I'm coming to you, Dr. Amina, right? I know that you have, done extensive work both in the private and in the public sector, right? We're talking about technology, we're talking about innovation, and I know that all of your work has sort of revolved, around this, especially as we seek to leverage more of the digital economy. Now, we know that for a business to be focused on growth, which is really the underpinning of all of these things, because any technology that doesn't offer you growth in your business really counts for nothing, is worthless, right? So for a business to be focused on growth and doing business in an economy where our currency suffers from devaluation, and, we're now seeing a lot of businesses building, extending their products or services beyond borders, which is really an avenue for long-term growth. And because technology has made it in such a way that the world is rapidly becoming interconnected, providing opportunity for us to do business almost anywhere and with anyone, and serve people in different countries. This has raised the need for us to now take our operations to other regions in a bid to expand, in a bid to grow. And because you don't want your revenue to be localized in a currency that is significantly devalued, right? I want to ask you, right, based on your experience, what are the opportunities that exist in the global market for businesses that are operating locally in Nigeria, for them to be able to tap into, and how do they position their business to be able to access these international market opportunities for business growth? Please unmute yourself, Dr. Amina.
I just did.
Awesome.
Just give me a moment, please. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's indeed a pleasure to be here with you today with these amazing ladies. And just to say, WIMBIZ is very close to my heart, and I really respect and appreciate the effort of also the leadership and the entire team. Your question is very interesting. As we speak about technology, we know that technology is actually the gateway, right? Being a technologist myself, I see all the opportunities all around us, right? So businesses, for example, now, where
Okay. Doesn't look like network is working today. Technology is failing us. Okay.
You can't hear me?
Okay, please go on. We can hear you now.
Okay. So yes, I was saying that technology is everywhere, and it has actually changed the way businesses are being done. And it gives you access to global markets just by leveraging on the internet. So there are many opportunities out there for businesses to grow in the international market. It's a chance for the businesses to actually repurpose their products and services so that it will meet the global market. And they can also diversify their markets so that they reduce risk from just focusing on the local market. And also, it helps them in finding new competition and other opportunities to grow their brands. So in as much as when you're starting your business, you look at local problems and try to solve them, the best way businesses can remain competitive and have a comparative advantage is to ensure that they're looking at how they can also access the global market. So in terms of how, I would explain some few steps for them to be able to, need to really be looking at expanding into global markets. So for example, firstly, I would always start with saying you need to develop a strategy. You need to be able to put things together in the how, put your own plan and say, this is what I want to do. This is the market I want to target. This is the why. Do a little bit of research into really understanding the market, the local market in the global market.
Doctor,
yes.
Please, could you increase the volume a bit? I can see a couple of comments in the chat. They want your volume to come up a bit.
Okay, is it any better now? I'll try and shout a bit.
Sounds better, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So you really need to, like I said, firstly, you really need to develop a strategic plan to know, how you to map out what you want to achieve and the how, and have like a baseline research of the local market of the global markets you're looking at, right? The policies, the culture, and all the other things that are there. And then you actually need to clearly identify your product or your service that you want to really reach out to the global market, and make sure that it aligns with what is important in those markets. You need to also develop an export plan. So while you're looking at accessing these markets, they're accessible because you have the internet. But do you think about things like you must think about things like your payment system. So thank God we have the likes of Flutterwave here. So you need to think about, okay, if I have access to these markets and I do my marketing and they want to buy things, how would they be able to pay? What is my plan on logistics to make sure that these goods are delivered to them, whether it's a good or service? So you need to have that kind of plan as well. Fourthly, I would say you need to conduct your market analysis. Make sure that you identify the target market. I think they're still saying it's very inaudible.
Can I ask if this is better?
Yes, a lot better.
Is it better?
A lot better. Thank you.
So the good thing is
you have a backup plan.
You might need to mute one of the devices.
Okay. If I mute, oh right.
We can't hear you at all.
How about now?
Good.
Okay. So you might also need to really look at your competition. So the same way you look at your competition in your local markets, you also need to look at that from a global point of view. I, for example, want to do a business in, I don't know, maybe I want to give outsourcing service on a particular IT service in a company. So I really need to look out to see, okay, are there other local companies within that global market that are doing that, and how are they doing it? We need to analyze it and also come up with ways to make sure that it is much better, right? My services that I'm providing for them, it is much better. So finally, I would also mention that packaging, labeling, and other regulatory requirements are also very important, especially me coming from the angle of a regulator, right, as my day job. It's very important for you to understand the policies and other regulatory instruments that drive those markets. So it's actually preparing yourself for that market, positioning yourself, to be able to access the market, and using all forms of marketing to be able to reach out to that market, and of course, keeping your customers satisfied. Of course, that comes with a lot of barriers as well, right? which you really need to look at. Like I mentioned, there are language barriers, time barriers, culture barriers, even managing your global teams as you build and expand, right? So if you're a company that has started reaching global markets and you've set up offices in these different markets, you would have to be able to find ways to address some of these challenges. Of course, always coming back to payment systems, challenges would include like your currency, the change in currency. For example, like you mentioned, our moderator, when you mentioned the currency exchange that's always fluctuating, right? The inflation rates. So you need to be able to manage those barriers and challenges. And of course, politics as well. So this is just saying that, yes, there's a huge market out there. Technology enables businesses to expand, not just having access to the markets, but also being able to make the business more scalable. So we have technologies like cloud computing, which enables you to expand just at the click of a second, because you don't really need like big, large warehouses or to buy large computing devices. You just pick it up as a service from a company that hosts that kind and expand your businesses. So yeah, I hope this kind of shares some lights into how businesses, the opportunities and how they can strategize themselves to access these markets.
Absolutely. That was a job well done. Thank you so much for sharing with us on that. And I do believe that, people are already seeing opportunities and means by which they can actually position their businesses to take advantage of these opportunities. So I'm back to you, Mrs. Ozurumba. I think network just played something on us there while you were speaking. So I would like for you to take a go at the question again. What I had asked you was, what are the innovation strategies that businesses need to adopt for them to stay relevant and competitive in this day of digital disruption?
All right, thank you very much. And it's once more, it's a pleasure to be here. So earlier, I was trying to talk about the businesses having that focus and that mandate for market relevance. You cannot stay innovative, or you cannot become more innovative than you are if you are not able to situate your existence to your being able to stay relevant in the market. And for you to stay relevant in the market as a business owner, you need to be responsive to your environment. You need to have that kind of outlook that sort of tells you this is where the world is currently going. These are the things you need to put in place now for you to be able to succeed in that new reality. And of course, once you are able to establish that responsiveness, you will then have to ask yourself, would you need to renew your processes entirely, overhaul it, or do you need to reinvent yourself in such a way that you are able to sort of partake in that new reality? And in doing that, two things then open up to you. You either stay relevant because you have positioned yourself to consistently be relevant in that market, or you stay resilient. And in staying resilient, what happens is no matter what the environmental factors or whatever it is that might come at you as a business, you're able to wade through the waters and you're able to succeed as the case may be. Another strategy that I would also want to recommend, you can take that away from innovation. As a business, you need to be customer obsessed. And in being customer obsessed, you need to approach your business from the customer's perspective, because you're not running the business for yourself. Yes, you're passionate about the business you're doing, but at the end of the day, if it's a product that you've shipped into the market, or if it's a service that you are delivering from some form of solution, it is for a user. So as a business, you need to be user obsessed, not just user focused. Obsession is a higher level of being focused on your user. And the easiest strategy I would recommend for you to be user obsessed is to embrace what we call the design thinking process. You know, in innovation, that design thinking process is actually what allows you to showcase empathy towards your user, and you are able to solve the real problems that your user needs. You know, so if you are selling, if you're in a buying and selling business, and you say, oh, the problem is that we are not able to, Nigerians are not able to buy a specific item from the market, that might just not be the real problem. The problem could be that you've not offered that specific product in such a way that it will meet the real unmet needs, you know, that your customers or your users, your proposed users would have. So in embracing that design thinking process, you run through the entire frame of identifying the unmet needs. You know, you own the problem from the customer's perspective, and then you either go into imagination or some form of creativity. All these are even done before you reach the innovation aspect of it. You know, you try to clarify the problem, you try to define the actual value that you would offer your users or your customers that will meet the exact problem that they have, or that the exact need that they currently are experiencing. And of course, we need to know that needs evolve. So over time, your customer needs will keep evolving. There was a time that the need for a customer is just to eat food. They would go to the restaurant, they would eat the food. A time came, the need was no longer to eat food, but to have the food brought to the customer. You know, so you need to be able to evolve in such a way that you are able to now get to that next level of need, which is access, which is convenience. So it's not just the food now that you're selling convenience, you're selling access. You know, I would, if you would permit me, you know, I don't live in Lagos, but there's this specific vendor that I use to buy food for people in Lagos. And why do I use this vendor? It's not because it's the only vendor that sells, but it's because the value definition that the vendor has given customers is you get your food in 30 minutes, come rain, come shine. So that's for me. So that vendor is not just selling food. Food is not the product. What the vendor is now selling is that innovative approach to be able to upscale on time and deliver that product to the users at the time that they want it, or even earlier than they want it. So being able to have that mandate to stay relevant in the market is one strategy. And of course, embracing design thinking process in how you output your products, your solutions, your services is another strategy that business owners or businesses can adapt or embrace to be able to keep reinventing themselves and become more relevant in the market, and of course, showcase innovation as the case may be. Thank you.
Wow. In fact, we need to unpack what you just shared with us, because I just feel like there are just loads and loads of things in there. My goodness. I mean, you've talked about, you know, how we should think about innovation, because there is a sense in which we're talking about innovation and it looks like some buzzword, some big thing that we have to sort of, you know, look for. Anyway, but you sort of, you know, demystified it and broke it down to, it's really about understanding the problem of your customers. What need are they trying to have met? And what is the best way by which you can, you know, meet this needs? What sort of solution? And the truth is that what keeps you relevant in the market is the fact that you're able to do things differently than the way other people have done it, or even the way that you have done it in the past. And you also mentioned the fact that our customers' needs and preferences keep changing. So it's not the fact that they want food, it is how they want the food served that is now the thing. And I think that that example is so profound. And that will lead me to my immediate question, which I'm also taking back to you, right? Just riding on this conversation. You know, you said that, you know, for our businesses to grow, of course, following the growth trends and the changes that are happening in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, I believe that, you know, personally, my personal opinion, I believe that there are three things that business owners have to do. Number one, you have to run the business efficiently, first of all, right? Leveraging design thinking and all of that. You have to run your business efficiently, which is do the business. Number two is you have to change your business as the market evolves, you know, meaning that you're trying to do better with your product or service, maybe in the manner in which you package it, you deliver it, which you already alluded to in your food example. And then the third thing is that you have to reinvent the business, meaning that you have to do something different. And that is what keeps you ahead. That's what keeps you relevant. I mean, there were brands in the past that we used to all patronize. Our parents used to patronize those brands, and we had them in our homes. But today, they are no more, right? You now have to ask yourself, why is it that these brands are no more? Is it that they've not been able to reinvent themselves to stay relevant, given that our needs have now changed, right? And of course, with the Gen Z generation, this microwave generation, where they want things like this, so how do you position your business to continue to stay relevant and be able to even serve this Gen Z that want their things in a certain way, right? So my question, just riding on the back of the conversation we're having so that we don't lose that thought, is how should a business embrace this sort of radical innovation that we're talking about, which is not really just about improving your product alone, but also identifying the problems that need to be solved and then implementing ideas to get to the solution and reinvent your business? Because I see innovation really around, reinvention, just that ability to stay agile and be willing to move from the norm. What do you think business owners should do to be able to embrace radical innovation in their businesses?
All right, thank you very much. So that question is for me again, I assume.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, so I want to sort of recommend them having a proper growth strategy that is aligned with their quest to remain relevant in the market using the responsive approach. And there are a lot of ways you can do that. They can look at the culture and philosophy. They have this buzz strategy word that culture would always eat strategy for breakfast, lunch, or dinner or something. It is true. You need to be able to look at the culture and philosophy of your business environment, and then you are able to tailor your solutions in such a way that it can embrace the changes that are evident, within that business atmosphere. And then you can also go on a discovery drive. A discovery drive is probably your business environment is, there is no VUCA kind of reality, volatile and all that stuff going on. But you're able to understand that your current customers, they are not necessarily okay with the business. They are not complaining about your business or your offerings, but they would need something fresh. For instance, remember recently, MTN had changed their slogan. Nobody ever complained about the old slogan, did we? Everywhere you go. In fact, for me, it was even a very cool slogan. But then they understood now that it's no longer about them. Yes, everywhere you go, you would see MTN. But then they needed to tweak it around to start talking to customers, or rather have customers talk to them. And then they changed it. I think it's now, what are we doing today? I don't know if I'm correct. Something that will sort of elicit a conversation to happen. And in that conversation happening, probably there would be some form of pursuit of fresh insight or discovery that they can incorporate into their business and then make their business, stay more relevant and more, user obsessed and all that. And I would want to recommend traditional businesses, especially, they should find a way to sort of start thinking like a startup. So startup businesses, they just have that utility of being able to execute rapidly. They are nimble, they are fluid. And in doing this, you see a lot of speed to market, speed in delivery. So businesses should find a way to think like a startup, remove all those bureaucracy. It's really not relevant in this modern dispensation, in this new reality that we are in. And of course, in delivering new innovation, a lot of experimentation have to go on. The earlier poll we did at the beginning of the conversation talked about, failing people. Do people believe, if I can't remember the exact words, that you can fail a lot even as you try to innovate and, deliver new innovation? That is very true. You need to be able to experiment. You need to be able to fail quickly. Don't wait for the failure to extend over a period of years. Short-term failures for me are better because it allows you not to commit a lot of resources into what you're doing. So you fail quickly, and then you were able to understand quickly as well why you failed, and you were able to self-correct, or you're able to probably even abandon it completely and then focus on some other thing that will sort of add to both your top line and of course your bottom line. So those are things that businesses can start doing. Commonsensical approach to a large extent might help, and that's what innovation is about. That's what and then I would want to also close with saying businesses should focus on solving the real problem. In reframing problems, there's this popular analogy that is used about an elevator. So you would think as a business that the challenge your users or your customers are having is that the elevator is too slow, but that's not true. No elevator is slow. In fact, if you compare the time you spend in an elevator with the time you spend walking up the stairs, you will know that the elevator will definitely reduce that time commitment to a large extent. So if you're a business and you focus on thinking that the problem that your customers are having is that the elevator is slow, it makes you focus away from the real problem. So the real problem is actually that maybe your customers are impatient. They want to arrive at their journey quickly. So it's an emotional thug at that moment. So if you are then designing solutions that will address the customers in that elevator, it's not, the solution is not about changing the technology in the elevator or overhauling it and bringing a modern elevator, probably that to just improve the speed by just 1%. It's rather, how do you do things that would sort of refocus the time that the customers spend in that elevator, so they wouldn't even realize that they have spent 1 minute or 30 seconds to get to their destination. You can talk about putting selfies. You can even put selfie sticks, play music, put mirrors in the elevator. So things that will sort of distract them, and then they are able to arrive at their destination at the same time that you actually even thought that they were slow. So thank you very much. I can see Dr. Amina's hand is up. Maybe she wants to come in at this point. So let me shut up now and then start coming. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Dr. Amina, you want to contribute to this?
Oh, yes, I would really love to opportunity to add. I really enjoyed Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we're with you.
Wow. Okay, excellent. So I really, really enjoyed your conversation around embracing radical innovation. It's asking me to mute here. Hello?
Yes, we can still hear you. Go on.
Okay, excellent. So I just want to use this opportunity to just emphasize on two things. I heard Blossom mention experimentation and failure. There needs to be a lot of experimentation, and failure should be acceptable. So I just want to introduce this concept as a reminder. I'm sure a lot of us might have come across it, of adaptive learning. So as businesses want to remain relevant and continue to innovate, the concept of adaptive learning is picking it up from an angle of saying this is a solution to a problem, but rather would keep experimenting and doing things differently all the time. So that makes the innovation continuous. That keeps you in the market. That keeps you competitive. That's the kind of spirit that helps businesses to stay on top. And with that, you need a growth mindset. So the growth mindset is a mindset that is accepting of things as they are. When there is failure, there's nothing like failure. Failure is learning, right? We understand failure. They should understand failure as learning, as in every step they make, whatever happens, you wait and watch, what have we learned in this? And then how can we make it better? Because that's the only way you can actually improve your businesses, by failing and then actually critically analyzing the failure and defining what you did right and what you did wrong. Secondly, Blossom also mentioned, that they really need to start having that startup spirit. Very important. So there needs to be prioritization of communication and feedback. We all move away from feedback. Nobody likes it. So you see businesses online, selling these things, and all the time they just put, oh, I love the product, I love the packaging and things like that. No, you need the most important feedback you get are those feedback that is quite negative in the first instance, because that's what will make your products even better. So prioritize communication and feedback. Not just externally, but also internally. Because if you also think of your staff as some sort of untapped resource for industry transforming ideas, right? You would be able to make them also internalize the purpose of the business. They would also be able to, to start thinking as a startup, start seeing your problems as a startup and bringing those kind of solutions using a startup mindset. So I just wanted to add a little bit of that, but yeah, I love what you said, Blossom. Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful conversation we are having here. And I can see, a lot of comments in the chat box. People are really enjoying the conversation, and it's really very insightful what we're sharing today. Okay, all right. So I'm coming back to you, Opoluwa. We've talked a lot about, innovation, and it's clear. I mean, we're back to the second question that we had on the poll, where we were talking about technology and innovation, whether it actually helps us with customer engagement or maybe customer satisfaction, employee engagement, and the likes. And we're already seeing the answers coming to the fore, because the truth is that you're able to get a lot more engagement from your customers in terms of getting online real-time feedback that helps you to improve your process, to help you identify the real problem. Blossom, you did mention that many times we're looking at things from face value, and what we think is the problem many times may not really be the problem. And if you have a way by which you are able to reach your customers and get feedback from them online real-time, that helps you to be able to, go back to the drawing board and really address what the problems are. Now, I know that there is something that is also critical for a lot of businesses, right? Especially SMEs and MSMEs, right? Where we have to leverage technology for marketing. Marketing either to before technology became a thing, before social media became a thing, had been done in different ways. You see businesses advertising in newspapers, on billboards, handing out flyers. I think a lot of that still happens, but you will see that a lot of businesses now go, on social media, right, advertising or marketing their businesses, so to speak. I'm coming back to you, Opoluwa, in your own view, right, for a business that is operating in this day and age where lack of, a strong digital presence can actually make or mar your business, right? How do you think businesses can utilize digital technology to effectively market their products and services?
Thank you so much. And I want to thank Dr. Amina and Blossom. I think that at some point I was just hoping that I was one of the audience so that I don't have to speak and I just listen to both of you all day. Thank you so much. So going into that, right, and I think I gave a bit of context at the beginning when I started to speak, and context around how things have changed and things have evolved. Now, speaking of digital presence, or how you can use the digital world, to market your products or to know how to get to your customers is essential, right? And I know that a lot of people, I'm sure that a lot of people here use the social media, which is one of the major tools that are being used for digital payments nowadays. And it's just identifying your niche. So even if you're using social media and you probably want to do adverts, you probably want to use influencers, you're also looking at the group of people those people are able to get to. And it has to be the kind of people that you're looking at, the kind of audience that you're looking at, right? So you're looking at how you can get to the audience that you need. So you're identifying a lot of things because obviously you have set goals for yourself, right? And because nowadays social media is also getting a bit expensive, to put out your products. So you have goals, you have set a goal, and you know that this is how I'm going to do it, and this is how I'm going to get to my goal, right? Because your goals are clear. And using this innovation to then get across to your customers is about what you need, because everybody is on Twitter, is either on Twitter or they're on Instagram or even TikTok, right? So being able to identify your own niche, carving your own niche, and then putting out products to those people where you need it. Another thing I would like to talk about is the digital marketing itself. And apart from, so moving away from social media now, I think at the beginning I had mentioned something around email marketing. And, you know, coming from you being able to gather, and I mean, it's also around you identifying your niche, because these are your customers, and you want to be able to put out products that they're also able to introduce people to. I think that it was Blossom that said it, and she mentioned something around how you're identifying the problem and you're able to then create solutions to the problem. Not necessarily because your customers have complained that, oh, we don't receive emails, or would like it this way, but because you're just thinking about it and you're just, you know, trying to figure out how your customers would prefer to be served. So you're sending out emails to let them know, oh, we now have these products. You know, we have new stock, or this is what we have now at this point. And maybe going to strategic places now, attending conferences like this, or attending, you know, gatherings like this also helps. Unfortunately, this is not physical, but half of the time, I mean, before COVID and even now, networking is also a very, very important part of digital marketing, because at the end of the day, you're able to, you know, go somewhere, you know, the kind of conferences you want to attend, you know, the kind of gatherings you want to attend, go in there, you know, speak about your products, network with people, speak to people, and they're able to also refer you to other people, right? Especially after they get a good service. And this all still boils down to how much you're customer obsessed. And when Blossom mentioned customer obsessed, I think that is a very important part of the business, because without those customers, you're really nothing, right? Because the business exists because of the customer. So when you're creating products, or when you're trying to innovate, or when you're getting ideas, you're also thinking about your customers and how best you can satisfy them, and what they need and what you need to satisfy them with. Another thing I wanted to mention quickly was partnerships. I think that partnerships is also a very important part of the business. So you can't do everything on your own, right? And that's where partnerships come in. So when we're talking about food business and how people move from just eating to now they want things to be delivered to them. Now, if I'm a food vendor, if I have a restaurant, I probably don't have a delivery service. And that's where partnerships will come in. And, you know, speaking to other people about how you want to satisfy your customer is also very important. That way, you're bringing in different people who have different stakes in the business, and they're able to deliver. And this is just because you have your customers as the end goal, or as the main focus of your business. So, you know, partnerships is also very important, but more importantly, setting goals and ensuring that you have presence, online presence, offline presence, getting into groups, getting into conferences, getting into, you know, even if something like WIMBIZ, right, it's a very good avenue for you to network and for you to get yourself out there so that everybody can see you. I hope I was able to answer your question, Abiola.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much. So we're gradually getting to the end of this panel session, and I know that, you know, we've had a very, very interesting ride all through. So I would like for you to put your questions in the Q&A box, because we're going to be taking questions very, very soon. All right. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay, so I'm back to you, right, Dr. Amina. Let's talk a little bit, because I'm interested in global markets and all of that. But before we get there, how do you think, and I'm asking you this question because you know you have experience in the public sector, and I want you to help us, you know, talk a little bit about what part government has to play in terms of embracing innovation and technology, especially in creating an environment that makes business easier. that ease of business thing that we talk about. What sort of policies do we need to put in place that really help businesses to thrive better in our local environment, and also to be able to position their businesses, to put their businesses out there, to make their products and services exportable? I do believe that a lot of the issues we're having with Naira being devalued and all of that is because of our huge reliance on oil. If we have a lot more business out of Nigeria able to export their products and their services out there, and we're able to generate a lot of foreign income, foreign currency income coming into the country, we will be able to sort out a lot of these issues. What's your take in terms of what you think governments should do, or what sort of regulations and policies do you think need to be in place to really help businesses to be able to access global markets and also even do business better within the local environments that they currently operate from? Dr. Mina.
Okay, thank you so much for that question, Abiola. Thank you. That's actually when you're speaking about businesses, or you're speaking about entrepreneurship in terms of startups, it's an ecosystem approach that is important. Key players are 5. Number 1 is the entrepreneur themselves. Number 2 is the investor. Number 3 are the corporates that consume the innovation that they come with. And number 4 are the risk capital. Oh, no, sorry, investor is the risk capital, is the educational system, and then of course, the government. So you specifically targeting your question at what government should be doing is actually creating the enabling environment. That is our main task. We are supposed to create a channel. Not even supposed to, I would say we do it. So NIDA is actually the apex agency, IT apex agency in the country that is driving that for the technology ecosystem. So we create a channel of communication between the ecosystem and government, so that because the private sector are driving businesses, and they know where they have challenges. So that form of communication is to enable them reach out to government and tell them what the challenges are and how government can create the right sort of policies or other regulatory instruments that can enable them to thrive. So I'm starting with this to say we don't just sit down and come up with ideas of how we think things can be better. So it's usually having a listening session, and then also looking at global trends and other through research and other baseline assessments. So government is large. Well, for example, NIDA claims, I just claim that we do the technology ecosystem, but there's so many other arms of government that are involved. For example, the financial sector. Some of you may recall that at some point in time, there was a policy that came out on crowdsourcing. Right? Crowdsourcing means a way of raising funds using multiple pools or avenues to be able to do that. So the government came up with a position, and the private sector was not happy and things like that. And a lot of discussion has gone into that. Similarly, blockchain. At the beginning of blockchain, there were these things where blockchain came out, and the government's position was not very enabling for the ecosystem. So we have the financial sector where we have the, government agencies like SEC, CBN, and the rest, dealing with that. And we have, for example, what you said, Adiola, on the enabling business. We actually have PEBEC, the Office for Enabling Business Environment. So they actually look at the global standards. There are indexes that enable those, and they try to see what they need to do incrementally to be able to take Nigeria to the next level. There has been some constant increase or upgrade of Nigeria in terms of enabling business over the years. They've been doing a very tremendous job there. So other policies also include maybe policies, internal policies that would help to give more access to infrastructure, whether it's infrastructure of electricity, which is one of our key challenges. Well, we're speaking technology, innovation, and all that, but our main challenge is electricity. Businesses are really running down because of the lack of electricity and infrastructure to even help logistics, right? So there's a huge aspect to it when you're speaking about the kind of policies that you can venture into. But specifically, I would speak about two. One is startup incentives. It's very important for the government to continuously come up with rules, enabling rules or enabling regulations where startup can actually see that venturing into such businesses is a good thing, right? For example, a tax holiday. So giving them long-term tax holidays where they don't need to pay taxes would encourage them to go into such businesses. Also giving them quick access to funding, right? And also ensuring that you give them access to the market. Okay, so while we're supporting entrepreneurs, government is something actually NIDA is working on. We're actually working to see that our local content is being considered first in terms of especially technology for NIDA, so that when there's any opportunity for a product or service, we would make sure that our local content is being patronized before anything. And our public procurement too, so procurement from public institutions would ensure that our local indigenous companies also have access. So these kind of policies would help the businesses to scale and grow. And some of you may recall that recently the Nigerian Startup Bill was just passed, which is an excellent move by Nigeria. I think Nigeria is the fourth African country now that has now put together our own startup bill. And the startup bill has a comprehensive list of incentives and policies that would really enable the business ecosystem. And it also creates that visibility and clarity for the global market. Finally, I would like to speak about the investor incentives as well. So the startup bill also contains some of those, and we have something called the Venture Capital Act. I think it's in draft. It's still not been stamped as a law. It's not been stamped, but inside that investor document is ways of encouraging both indigenous and external investors to invest into Nigerian companies, and also to bring clarity. You know, most of the time, for example, in the job that I did 4 years ago, I was supporting innovation-driven enterprises, and we take them across the world. We give them opportunities. One of the key things that stood out was they were always afraid of putting in their money into those businesses or even partnering with them, because there was no some sort of security or clarity on, you know, what happens to them if anything goes wrong and things like that. So these incentives and regulatory instruments help to bring structure into that. So there's a lot of things that government can do, but focusing on creating, just like you said, an enabling environment. And there are many best practices out there. We have a lot of documents, fancy documents. A lot of more effort needs to be put into implementing those documents so that we can see things grow within the ecosystem. Yes, so thank you. I hope that kind of addresses policy from the government angle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amina. That was a very good one there. Thank you for your contribution on that. So at this point, we're going to be... Okay, thank you so much. We have quite a lot of questions that have come in. I'm just going to attempt to see how much of it we can cover within the time that we have. All right, so the first question here says from Sumisola. She says, if we're to treat it like a startup, how do established businesses get investment to upgrade their technology and innovate? I guess that question is for you, Mrs. Blossom Ozurumba.
All right, thank you very much. And that's actually a very interesting question, Sumisola Ade Fosudo. So for you to just, you can't just wake up as a traditional business and decide to probably just have that setup laser focus in doing your business as opposed to the norm or the status quo. But I would always recommend that it's important for you to align your innovation strategy with your broader corporate strategy. In doing that, it makes it easy to align. So let me just scale back a bit to my organization. So I work with the NMPC, and we all know that recently we had transitioned, from what we all knew, being a corporation, to just being a more focused and nimble organization. Of course, we are also hoping to be more transparent to the public going forward. So we did not just wake up, the PIB got passed, and then we said, oh, it's time to transition. No, it was a very deliberate attempt. So this started, well, what I would love to share, all the way back in 2020. That was just shortly before the whole COVID thing started and all that. And then businesses were turned on their heads and people had to then start thinking of how to survive. So good enough, NMPC, I don't know if it's a coincidence. We sort of thought about that before the COVID hit us in the face, right? So as of March 2020, we had always had what we call the research and development and division, which was in Port Harcourt. And we're just focused on, just being an extension of the kind of research that happens in the academic environment. So they just do research for the sake of it. They don't progress it into innovation, trying to commercialize the outputs from those research and then trying to add that or feed that back into the business and sort of make some money for the business. So that was where we are prior to then. But then we then had this bigger, broader strategy that sort of had the focus on how we can be able to self-sustain, because when we transition, we are not able to call, we wouldn't get subventions from the government. So we'll literally just have to work in such a way that if we make money, we survive. If we don't make money, probably we'll just declare bankruptcy and all that. So as of March 2020, we then decided to just turn this whole thing around to align with the new corporate strategy of cost leadership and of course improving our profits and becoming more transparent to the public. So that was what then led to the birthing of the NMPC Research Technology and Innovation. So we literally just scrapped research and development and then moved into something a bit more that can more correlate with the desired future we want. So we had to start from somewhere. And also I think as at then and as at yesterday, I don't know if today, I think NMPC is the only public sector in quotes, because we are now public sector in quotes, organization that have a chief innovation officer. I don't think there is any other one in Nigeria currently. So we have that. But then try to tie the conversation together. We weren't just thinking for innovation as an end to itself. We had to be able to align our innovation strategy, our innovation desired outcomes to the corporate strategy. So now that we have transitioned fully, now that we've weaned ourselves from having government support in such a way that even when we make losses, we're able to pay salaries and all that, we've moved away from that kind of, that's no more our reality. And that's no more our reality. So now we cannot afford to keep thinking like we're a traditional organization. If we're not trying to benchmark ourselves with the Aramcos of this world and so, we need to start thinking in such a way that we know that we don't have free money anymore. So we don't have that free money. And the easiest way you can align this current reality is to think like a startup. So for startups, you have investor funds, which you need to account for. Those investor funds are not, I'm sure Ope would understand what I'm talking about, So they're not free money. So that investor funds, you need to account for it. And you cannot account for an investor fund whereby a decision you can make in 2 hours, in 1 hour, you set up a committee to make that decision in 6 months or in 1 year, So that's what I mean by thinking like a startup. So align what exactly is the corporate strategy that you are desiring. And then any other thing, any other kind of innovation approach or strategy that you have planned, you need to then align it with that corporate strategy. So at the end of the day, everybody is speaking the same thing. So you don't just embrace innovation just for the sake of being called, oh, we are now a very innovative company. But what is the bottom line at the end of the day? What is the top line at the end of the day? Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that's very, very robust response there. I want to crave the indulgence of our panelists to sort of keep our answers very short because we have quite a lot of questions here, and I really want to be able to do justice to all of them before we go. Okay, so there's another question that says, what can a one-man business owner do to achieve the best result from the use of technology, considering the time needed to make use of this medium? I will address that to Opelua.
Okay, I assume I'm taking the next question, which is talking about how a one-man business can achieve best results using technology, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Awesome. Sorry, I tapped off a bit. Okay, so I think that first of all is very important to know your customers. So you know the kind of customers that you're looking at getting, right? You want to be sure, and this is also based on the goods and services that you're providing. So if you're a one-man business and you want to use technology, you also know the kind of technology that your customers are expected to have. For instance, if you're selling hair, you expect to have a digital platform, you expect to have a social media platform where your customers are, right? And also collecting data as well. Data is a very, 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 very essential part of a business because you want to use data to drive whatever it is you're doing. You want to understand the market. You have strategized, you have set your goal, and you want to understand how to get to your goal. So you're able to ensure that the customers you're looking at getting are in a certain place, and you want to be at that place, and you want to identify the problem and help them to solve the problem. So getting data is very, very essential, very important. And again, like I said, you already have an idea of the kind of customers that you want because you know your audience. You know that if you optimize, you have to optimize to suit whatever it is that they are, or wherever it is that they are. So using technology, for instance, if you think that your customer base is going to be online most of the time, then you have to be online. If you think that your customer base are the high and mighty, right, you need to go where they are, right? So not necessarily technology in this case, is also being innovative. I think Abiola mentioned it at the beginning that being innovative is like the most essential part of it. And of course, if your customers are abroad, you're looking for ways they can pay because you are in Nigeria. So you're trying to figure out how payments can be easy for them and how you're able to take payments even for yourself, right? So, leveraging all these tools can help you to understand your target market, be where your target market is, and you're able to just scale up your business from there.
Thank you.
I hope I was short enough. I was trying to reach it.
Thank you. You really tried. Okay, so the next question is going to Dr. Amina. And the question is from Sumisola Adefosudo again. And it is that, are those investment opportunities, I figured you had alluded to some investment opportunities in your discussion. So the question is, are those investment opportunities easier for actual startups and new businesses to get? Because technological innovation needs some form of financing to make real impact for the customers. Your take, Amina.
Okay, thank you. I can hear that echo. Let me take care of it. Hello?
I still have it.
What's happening? Is it better now? Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
It's good.
Okay. I apologize for the technology today. Okay, technology investment, yes. So investment in technology. So actually, the world is now being driven by technology, by SMEs, right? Whether it's general SMEs or innovative SMEs. And there's investment everywhere, but what makes it accessible is your abilities to strategize your business to be able to have access to that investment. So Blossom spoke a lot about innovation, strategizing, in your businesses. So there is money even waiting to be accessed. So it's actually getting yourself prepared. Okay, do you have a product and service that is in demand? Right? Is it something that people are looking for? Are you solving a problem? Are you able to identify that? Are you able to market your product or service in such a way that it's appealing to your customer base? And are you making sure that your services to the customer is they're having a nice customer experience and you're creating a large customer base? So if you are able to really solve problems, right, or have products that are being required, you can reach out to either risk capital in terms of venture capitalists, angel networks, and all that. We have an angel network in Abuja Angel Network. We have one in Lagos Angel Network, and we have a lot of grants flying around. So government do a lot of grants. For example, NIDA, we have an office specifically called Office for Nigerian Innovation. It was the office I headed for about 4 years. And we have programs, right, where startups, SMEs can apply. It's open. Everything is usually digital. Our marketing, our call for application, everything is online. It's ICT Innovation. I think it's, at NGR Innovation on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So follow those handles. And whenever you see an opportunity, they are not fraudulent. It's real. So apply for them and follow up, because if you're part of them, you get some grants that can help you in your businesses. The grants don't only come from the government account, but some of them are partnerships with multinationals. So GIZ, sometimes from World Bank, JICA, a host of other agencies partner with both government and also private sector to identify high potential enterprises that they can support. So money is there and you can access it if you strategize appropriately. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There's also a question saying from Sharifat, using technology, how can it affect logistic business in going global? I think that your answer has, sort of covered that as well, because the answer just covered any type of business at all. So whether it is logistics or any other one. What are the best ways to conduct market analysis? I think it was you, Mrs. Blossom, that talked about market analysis. Could you please share one or two lines on that?
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. That's actually a very important question, because for you to be able to, let me try to tailor that towards someone being, towards a business being customer focused or customer obsessed, So for you to be able to do that, you need to come with proper articulated insight and an analysis of the markets that you are in, to be able to sort of understand the existing opportunities that are there or the existing problems that are there. And then you should be able to find out whether those problems are being addressed, or probably because the problems are not well framed, they are being addressed in a wrong way. So conducting those kind of analysis will sort of lead you towards insights that would enable you make proper business decisions, and those kind of insights. There are organizations that are able to sort of assist with those kind of analysis. But then if you don't have the muscle, the financial power to do that, you can start with your existing customers, so even though you want to be customer obsessed, you don't want to look down on your existing customers. If you're able to use technology in a way and manner that can enable you sort of get some form of data from those customers, that can sort of help you to understand where you are going. And I always recommend, okay, so Flutterwave they have the markets, the stores products that you can use. And I'm certain that if you use those kind of facilities, they have a way of giving you some form of insights into the behavior of your customers when they actually, from the moment they click on your store link to the moment they walk away. So those are the kind of data you can mine to sort of try to understand. I was going to talk about Facebook, but then I decided to shut up and talk about Flutterwave. But really, those kind of online stores have a way of supporting you, at no cost, really, supporting you with this kind of insight to understand your customer behavior. So if you are now trying to reinvent and say, okay, I'm now a more customer obsessed organization, I am now adopting certain that innovation strategy. You are not just working by thoughts or by emotions. You actually have some form of data that you come armed with that can help you tilt it. So now, if, for instance, you have a store on Flutterwave and you realize that most of your customers are women and they come from a specific geographical demography or something, that sort of starts giving you some form of insight into how you can then mine the opportunities that they have in those kind of geolocations to be able to tailor fit your product in such a way that it will keep it will keep being in demand for that specific persona. And of course, yes, data is really good. It sort of gives you an insight into the entire population. Remember that for the data you have is just for a small sample of your population, but it sort of gives you an idea what the entire population, how the entire population would behave based on this small sample that you have. So those are some strategies you can put in place.
Thank you so much. Very, very powerful nuggets there. I want to quickly add a question to you, to the one you just answered, Mrs. Blossom Ozurumba. This question is from Neka Anaigbu, and it says, what advice do you give someone planning to go into business without previous experience? When businesses fail, how do you start over again? I know it's not particularly tied to technology.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's okay. I'll try to answer. So even if you don't have experience, experience is not the be-it all. There are businesses you can benchmark with. You can sort of shadow these businesses to understand how far they have gone. And you might get lucky. You could actually do a business that is in the same service cluster that you have. So for instance, for anyone that wants to do consumer goods, I would recommend, personally, I would recommend a business like Tesco, for instance. Tesco, in fact, the customer obsession I'm talking about is even enshrined in the fabrics of their DNA. You can imagine a company that their core purpose, they keep telling you, just to serve our customers a little better every day. So you don't need to even expend finances or resources to go and understand how you can serve your customer. You can go online and understand how Tesco has been able to do this consistently over the years. And you can pick a few nuggets from there, right. And the good thing is these nuggets you are picking, it's not theoretical. It's something that they have done and they have continued to do, and it has kept working for them. And that's it. Let me just deviate slightly and give us a small example. So if you are a business, for instance, and part of your brand identity is, let's say, color green, color yellow, and color red. This what I'm about to tell you now is something you can adapt. So let's say those are the 3 brand colors you want to identify your business with. You don't need to go and start breaking your head. What are the color codes I can use? You can think, okay, what of a company like Google? Those are their color identities, right? And I'm sure they did not just wake up and pick those specific, they call that HEX in design. They didn't pick those specific codes. There are reasons why they pick those particular color codes. They might have done some research that, probably cost them millions of dollars to come up with those specific codes. So I am a young business owner. Those colors are not copyrighted. If I say I want to identify my business with green, red, and yellow, I will simply go and collect Google Hex and run with it. I don't know why they chose those particular ones, but I know that Google would not make a mistake. You understand what I mean? So that's just a small, aspect of how you can even just adapt something as small as color identities for your business. Flutterwave now, I'm looking at the colors there. You understand? There is a reason they chose those colors. I don't know those reasons. I don't give a shit, sorry. I don't even care what those reasons are. But if those colors resonate with me, I will just tell myself, these guys might have spent millions of naira to come up with this final one. So let me just go and collect it. And if I'm lucky, I go to their website, they sort of put their brand guidelines. I can understand why they chose those colors and I will run with it. So it's good to literally see who are the people that are blazing the paths that you want to blaze, with time. What are they doing? What have they done? What can I steal from them? So long as it's not copyrighted. You don't end up in litigation. What can I steal from these people? And then you run with it, I think there's this, is this Conquox or something in the US? If you go there, it said boldly, this was stolen from so and so. There's some story I had several years ago, but it's really good. Stealing is not the word stealing. What can I sort of adapt and repurpose for my use based on the amazing insights that they had when they decided to do this? And then you run with that, Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Some people are giving you thumbs up in the chat box. Okay, so I'm back to you, Dr. Amina. There are 2 questions that I'm going to roll into one. I kind of feel like you've answered the first one while you were talking. So this person says from Ifoma Unwoke, she says, how does the local retail business positions itself for sales in the global market? Are there steps or guidelines to follow from the government perspective? Is there a website or link to use as a checklist before launching into this market? I know you did give some links or whatever information on social platforms or websites that people can definitely go check out some of these things. So if that works, I think that question can be taken as answered. Is that it? Can they go to those platforms and check out this information? Yes. Yes, we can hear you, Dr. Amina.
Yeah, I heard the first question, but I didn't hear the second one.
Okay, so the second one says, what are the best available means to deliver goods in the international markets? I think it's almost about the same thing.
Okay, okay, you can say that. So for the first one, I think basically what I tried to explain is there are different government organizations that have different mandates in terms of everything we're speaking about when you speak about government, right? We have an agency called NEPSI, Nigerian Export Promotion Council. So they are the government arm that kind of regulates how things are being exported and access to exported out of Nigeria. And in terms of access to the global market, there really isn't any law that says this is what can be, this is how you can reach the global market and this is how you can have transactions with them. It might be bits and pieces of things in there. So for example, maybe the financial bit, right? So maybe Ope might tell us some of her experiences in terms of Flutterwave, to say, you know, what are the challenges they have in terms of payment when it comes to global markets, not just within Nigeria, right? And so that is where government would say, okay, maybe there's a restriction there, okay, or there's a guideline that you must follow in that aspect. And also, I think that's what I can think of right now at the top of my head. In terms of accessing the international market, right? Strategy is very important, right? You need to know the demand of that market, and you need to also know how that market is being regulated, right? Like, you know, in Nigeria, we also have Nigerian Customs Service. So when things are coming in, are being imported, there's always these rules and regulations that determines, you know, these products are prohibited, these are not, and all that. So it's important for you to really understand that. And if you're speaking specifically, I think the second question more about how you can export the goods. So I would say use an indirect approach, especially because you're speaking about small businesses, right? Indirect approach means instead of directly exporting your goods, you would use intermediaries. So what are intermediaries? They are like export houses or merchant exporters. They are companies that just specialize in taking your goods and making sure they're being delivered appropriately. So why would you want to use that? One, it would mean, because you're a small business, it will mean less risk, and it will mean less investment in logistics, right? And it also has its disadvantage. For example, you would say there would be less profit because you would be giving some of that profit to the intermediary companies. And also you wouldn't have full and complete control, right, of how things are being done and moved. So that's basically what I would say. So in terms of making sure that you have all it takes to be able to access these markets, you just need to position. So what I spoke about earlier in answering the first question is they are like basic tips on how businesses can position themselves, not necessarily a government regulation, but how businesses can position themselves to be able to have access to global markets and access to funding. I hope that helps.
I hope so too. Thank you so much. Thank you for answering that. Okay, so I'm coming to you, Okweoluwa, if you're ready for me. There is this question from Alima Abubakar. But before I take the question, because these questions just keep pouring in, I think just by way of announcement, there is an evaluation link that has been dropped in the chat box. So please just do us the honors of filling the evaluation form, even as this Q&A session is ongoing. Thank you so much. So back to you, Okweoluwa. Alima is asking, I want to find out how technology can be used to the people in the rural areas with no smartphones or no phones at all to access credit. What would you suggest?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. Very interesting question, because half the time you're wondering how to actually get to those rural areas. And I know that especially from the financial sector, there's something called financial inclusion that they've been trying to work around for so long. And on the payment side, what we think about is how to get those guys, right? So you think about how, because these guys don't have smartphones, but almost everybody has the regular phones, I'm sure, because I know that my grandma still has a phone, even though it's not smart, right? But everybody has a mobile phone. And what we try to do is ensure that on that mobile phone, they can do whatever it is they want to do. So that's where you see your USSD, where you can dial *123# to complete a payment. There are also agencies, right, that are being worked on at the moment. So when you go to a rural area, in those deep rural areas, you see agencies. That's where you see the agency banking. That's where you see a POS. And there's an agent there where the people can go. So you have sent money to someone in the village, there's no bank and there's no smartphone. They go to these agents and then they present something to them and then they're able to cash out the agent is able to pay them cash. So those are the things that you try to think about while you're thinking about your business. So what kind of business is it? I have spoken about the financial sector because that's where I am. And that's how we think, right? So that in this sort of cases, we're constantly and effectively thinking about how you want to get to those guys. They don't have bank accounts. How are we able to help them to cash out? Because people keep sending them money. So you have these agents there, and they're able to, actually pay them cash after funds are sent to them. So, identifying the area. So you've identified that it's a rural area. How do you want to get to these guys with technology still, even though they don't have smartphones? And thinking about how that will work is what's most important. So if the USSD is working for them, and that's because they have the mobile phone, even though there is no internet on it, right? So ensuring that you think about how your business is, and then you can ride on that to innovate around the ideas you can have your customers use for those sort of businesses. I hope I was able to answer the question.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. You did mention something about partnership during the course of the session, and there's a question here. Talking of partnership and not physically present at the business location, what strategies should you put in place to ensure the partner on ground remain loyal and committed to the survival of a business?
Okay, like I said, partnership is one of the most important things for a business to thrive, especially with the sort of business that we do. Now, to ensure that the person stays true to what they have agreed to, that's where we have the legal part of it, right? And actually signing something. So you have contracts that you sign. I know that before you also go into a commitment or an agreement with somebody, they also have their own history. So you have gotten through that process and you have acknowledged how these guys can help you. Because obviously, if you're looking for a partner to help your business thrive, then they must have done something for you to identify them as such, right? So you have done your research. You have seen that these guys are able to do this, and you probably have seen the guys that they've done it for as well. So they should have customer base, right? So you've done your research. You've seen how the people they have worked with have thrived as well, which is what you're willing to achieve, or you're trying to achieve as your goal, right? And you've done your research, and once that is concluded, you're able to then come to the table, agree, have contracts, have signed contracts that you can easily refer to, have KPIs, have turnaround times, have everything that you need to have written down and signed. Unfortunately, we can't really use a gentleman's agreement in most of these cases because you have people who default. So you have to have something to refer back to, to say this is what we have signed. And if any litigation comes, you're able to refer to something, to have you backed up, right? So that's what I would advise on partnership level.
Thank you very much. Back to you, Dr. Amina. Is it possible to establish various business hubs for every commodity of economic importance? This is where policies can be properly implemented and monitored for growth and sustainable development of the commodities. So did you get that question? Question is it possible to establish various business hubs for every commodity of economic importance? Dr. Amina, you didn't get that question. Okay, looks like that question is not very clear. Yeah. Can you hear me?
I cannot hear anything. If you can hear me, I can hear you.
We can hear you. We can hear you. You appear muted, Dr. Amina.
Okay, am I still muted? I'm not muted from my end.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, so what did you ask me a question?
Yes, the question is it possible to establish various business hubs for every commodity of economic importance? Now, what this person is asking is in terms of policy implementation, where you can sort of monitor it and ensure that all the businesses that are signed up to that hub are able to really grow thereby.
Oh, okay. Good question. I would say that hubs, most of the innovation hubs are being run by private sector. that market is not highly regulated to enable innovation, right? We work with them in terms of program. It goes across the country and there's impact. We have a portal called Innovation Portal at nidda.gov.ng. Innovation Portal, yeah, Innovation.
Sorry, we can't hear you again. You just trailed off.
Hello? We really have, yeah. Sorry about that. So what there is a pool of all the entrepreneurs that have ever been any part of, they have been part of any intervention by NIDA, and we use that to monitor their progress. We also work closely with other government organizations for digital transformation and for innovation within those spaces. Actually, it just came to my mind that I think I missed meeting Ms. Blossom. I think the team from NNPC were at NIDA at some point in time, but I think I wasn't around to be there. Yes, it just came to me now.
Absolutely, so, absolutely.
Yeah,
We saw a clean anchor.
Exactly. So I was the person leading that for 5 years, and at that time I was supposed to be in the meeting and I missed it. So we kind of collaborate with government agencies to monitor that, see the amazing things that Blossom has mentioned about NNPC, and we can even see the change. You know, NNPC is going to a totally new level, right? So we work together with government, we work together with private sector to kind of follow up on the progress. And also NIDA being an agency that supports with intervention, we also build technology hubs across Nigeria, the 6 geopolitical regions. But as we build and equip these centers, we also allow them to be driven by private sector, because government cannot be too much in the business of doing, we're enablers. We need to allow the ecosystem to organically grow. So yeah, I think that kind of.
Right. Thank you so much. We have a couple of questions that we're unable to take at this time because we really have to start winding down this conversation. It's been a long and interesting one. There's some questions that are particularly targeted towards Flutterwave. So I guess what HQ will do is to harvest those questions and pass them to Okolua, who will provide answers, and that can be shared with us, hopefully via mail or via WhatsApp platforms, especially for associates. So please, if you have not joined, WIMBIZ to become an associate, get registered and join us so that you can have access to all the information that you require. So I did mention that an evaluation form had been shared in the in the chat box rather. Please check through the chat box and please fill this evaluation form. We've talked about a lot of things today, very interesting nuggets, interesting tips and strategies that has been shared. It is clear to every one of us right now, I do believe that, technology is the future, right? And you definitely as a business have to put your business, at the forefront of technology, technological changes, right? You have to sort of ride the trend if you don't want to be left behind. You have to be able to establish your digital footprints and be able to put yourself out there and not just be limited by your local environment, but that there are opportunities out there that through technology, you're able to take advantage of. You're able to do business, across borders just because you're able to leverage technology. And I think what is also very profound in all of the things that we've talked about is the fact that we need to be able to get our businesses ready for growth. A lot of us desire growth. We want to scale our business. We want to take our businesses beyond borders, leveraging technology, but we need to fix certain things that will allow us to be able to do that. If you want to access grants, if you want to access, investments, which Dr. Amina already spoke about, there are things that you definitely have to do to keep your house in order to be able to access those things. You have to, join an association like WIMBIZ, where information like that is usually shared, right? You're able to access such kind of information. You have to embrace partnership. You have to collaborate with other people. You just have to keep your eyes and ears out there, right? Because this information that you're asking are actually out there, right? And there are different platforms that Dr. Amina has already shared with us today, which you can definitely all check out. And for all of us that are interested in exporting our products and our services, to other parts of the world, I think there is a lot of information on those platforms that would definitely be of benefit to us. So I definitely want to thank my panelists who have gone on this ride with me. It's been so interesting, so insightful and exciting journey this afternoon. And I can see all the comments, in the chat box. Everybody's just saying thank you. Can I see the digital claps in the chat box? Please appreciate my honorable panelists for a job well done. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. We do appreciate, your time and your contribution on this panel session today. So a couple of announcements as we sort of wind things down. Please, if you haven't filled the evaluation form, kindly do that before we wrap everything to a close. Please remain patient and just, help us to fill that form so that we can have your feedback on this session that we have had today. We want to thank our sponsor, for really sponsoring this August edition of the WIMBIZ e-Roundtable. Thank you so much. We're so happy that you were able to do this with us. We invite you again, for those of you that are not yet WIMBIZ associates, please join us today. If you have not renewed your membership as an associate, please ensure that you renew your membership. If you need any more information about that, please send an email to membership@wimbiz.org. Now, there are upcoming programs that WIMBIZ has. For those of us that know, I'm sure you're aware about the annual WIMBIZ conference. It's usually a gathering of, business owners, thought leaders, people within the public sector, private sector, those people that you've always wanted to connect with, right? It's always something that we all look forward to. And the 2022 edition, it's already, registration has already started. So you can take advantage of the early bird price, which is going to end by the end of this month. And you can see all of that information being displayed right now. So make sure you take advantage of that. If you're already an associate, you can see that you're paying less, right? So you can take advantage of that. Just come on board so that you can take advantage of this, okay? We also have the WIMBIZ mentoring graduation, which is coming up on Friday, September 2nd, and also WIMBIZ associate induction, which is coming up on Friday, September 30th, okay? We're looking forward to you joining us so that we can do much more of this together. Follow WIMBIZ on all their social media handles. On LinkedIn, it is Women in Management, Business and Public Service. On Twitter, it is @WIMBIZ. And on Instagram, it is WIMBIZNG. So I guess at this point is where I hand it over to Gloria. I think I may have done your announcement for you, but you can come on board and just do the final wrap up.
Okay, I didn't really see the need for me to come back up here again. Thank you very much.
Just give us the closing remarks.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Precious Majekodumi. I serve as the programs manager here at WIMBIZ. I'd like to say a big thank you to our panelists. They've been awesome, from Ms. Opeoluwa to Ms. Blossom to Dr. Amina. Very, you guys have just, dropped fantastic nuggets. One of my favorites, the key takeaway for me from Ms. Blossom was you should be able to just get ready to fail. Also to, get one of the feedback that you always get is negative feedback, because it always helps you to, turn the business around. And I'm sure that everyone here has just taken some things back to go back and implement in their business, their family that they know that are into businesses, and just help them scale their business. So Ms. Abiola has said everything. So for those of our attendees who are not WIMBIZ associates, we invite you to be associates. Please register, because you can see one of the benefits here is just attending programs like this and just being impacted. So we are all welcome. Please endeavor to follow us on our social media platforms. We have Twitter, we have Instagram, WIMBIZ NG, at WIMBIZ NG, on our LinkedIn page, Women in Management, Business and Public Service. And of course, feel free to visit our website to register for upcoming programs. I think we have some more programs that are coming up before the WIMBIZ annual conference, and I'm sure we are all excited for the conference. We began planning and preparations are in place, so we can't wait to see you at the conference. And we hope you enjoyed the session, and we look forward to having you join us at the next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I guess this is where we call it. Hello. All right.
Founded on an audacious dream, Flutterwave is here to help Africans take the global stage. The fashion designer, the fitness influencer, the student dreaming of her MBA. Millions of us are ready. But while we have the talent, the products, and the great ideas, we struggle with the basic business need to pay and get paid. It's a pain. As Africans, we are divided by dozens of banks, currencies, and mobile wallets. So we started Flutterwave to make payments easy, to provide one easy-to-use payment platform for the entire continent and the products and services you need to support your business, so you can show the world what a successful entrepreneur looks like. This is our time. All it takes is that first payment, and we're on our way.